All right, good evening, everybody. Those in Liberia, we say good evening to you. Welcome to Liberia Shall Rise. This is another edition of the story time. Let's just call it the story time today. Um, Mr. Sapalucia, Mr. Keller, how are you guys doing today? Let's start with Mr. Dr. Positive himself.
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm actually doing good today. Yeah.
Only today. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
no wahala. Yeah, no wahala today. I'm good. Yeah.
okay. Mr. Sapalucia, how's the Lone Star State, my man? How you guys doing up there?
Lone Star State is warm today, anticipating the final. I'm supporting Spain today, even though I'm a fan of Messi, but the way this World Cup went, I don't like it. And I hope we can change it back to where we used to be so that it can look at least somewhat fairer than it is this time around. So that's why I'm supporting Spain because of some of the irregularities that happen. But anyway, other than that, Houston is great. The weather is nice here, just from service, and ready to discuss the dependability of Liberia.
Okay, I like it. Dr. Positive, I want to give you a second chance because I don't think I was fair to you. How is the Lone Star State? How is the city of Keller? You have a whole city named after you. So I got to give you that respect. How is the city of Keller and how are you doing? How is the Lone Star State?
Well, Keller is doing great. I'm still waiting for them to start paying me taxes. So eventually I will retire. I will retire once they start paying me taxes in the city of Keller. But until that time, I'm still working. But we actually doing good. Yesterday, I spent a lot of time. I was proud of myself doing some housework, my man. I patched the wall. I dug the front yard. I did a whole lot of stuff. So like I said, I'm happy. At least I came that I can do something. I'm a bona fide-handed man now.
I gotta ask the kids to verify that. So I gotta because the kids can always say blunt. No, yeah. So we gotta ask the kids.
Yeah, no, what about you, Sharif? You just throwing things out here. What about you? How you been? How your cool country?
Man, no, it's not cold country. This is hot country. It's super hot. But Colorado is doing well. We are doing very good. And I'm just super excited about today's discussion. I am ready because look, there was a song I was looking for. I think it's called Liberia My Home. I was looking for that song to play today, but I can't find it. So you know what? I'm in such a good mood that I'm still going to play a song. So I'm going to say something about All Hail Liberia because it's a special Independence Day celebration. 179, that means you're doing something good. Sapo Lucia does not like it, but he will go and listen to my voice today and we'll see what happens.
Hold on. Shall we say you're singing too?
No, I'm not singing. I'm going to borrow somebody's song here to play. Let me play it before I get on Sapo Lucia nerves this afternoon. Enjoy the song, guys. Let's share the show. We'll come back and definitely get the show.
Shall long be out. The new name, great be her fame, and mighty be her power.
Man, we can sit there and listen to that song all day. The Lone Star Forever. July 26, 1847. Free slaves. I don't want to call them free slaves because we all know when we follow history, we know exactly why the American colonization society, it was just a group of people, racist people Group of racist people. They didn't want blacks in that country. So the thing started a long time now with Trump, long time ago. And they were hiding under this disguise of, oh, we want to free you to take you back home. But when you read that story, a bunch of racist people come together, getting rid of blacks from the continent, I mean, from the Americas, take them back home, take them where they belong. And they said American Colonization Society. They took you and they put you down there in that little spot, and they never turn, look back at you. Never look back at you. When you call for them, they're not there. Oh man, we yell. No, you on your own now. You grown up, 18 years old. You go. 1847, July 26th. The audacity for free slaves to come together and say, "Look, we are going to declare our independence." We are, and I always ask the question: who did they get their independence from? No, I always ask that question. No, I can go back to the history of Ghana and say, oh, yeah, they were colonized by the British. They got an independence from them. I can go back to Kenya. I can go back to Uganda. I can go back to all these other countries and say, oh, yeah, Mr. Colonial Master, we're coming from you. But Liberia, we say we got our independence. So we just say we signed something. We say we are okay. We're grown up now. We want to be part of the big boys thing. And we did that. And we did that. But since we did that, oh man, I'm so proud of this small country called Liberia. They stood up. All the challenges the American Colonization Society were expecting us to fail. They were expecting us to come by and beg them and say, please come and govern us. We survived. Oh, there's a beautiful poem written by this beautiful lady called Maya Angelou. She said, all the things you put me through, but yet still arise.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the Lone Star did. Sapalucia doesn't like that. He doesn't like that. He think we're still begging. Sapalucia think we are still begging people. He think we still under somebody's thumb. And so today, that was my opening statement. I'm keeping the best for last. Stephen Keller, I want to talk to Sapalucia today. Go make your opening statement, and then we'll make him last. If the man won't go eat a kobo, let me go eat kobo. I'm not ready for him yet.
Okay.
Keller,
Thank you. Thank you. So basically, I must say, I'm proud of those that stood up and said, hey, we're going to establish something called our own. And one thing that I see that Liberians are not doing that I would love to see us do, to sell the fact that Liberia is one of the first country that was established by Black Americans in the US, and we need to welcome them to kind of be part of this thing that was started. You understand? And we're not doing that enough. Then that's one sad thing I see. But coming to 179 years, back in the day, everybody had that zeal. We were building something. And that zeal kept us going from 1920 all the way to 1950. We did some good things in Africa. Throughout the 1960s, we were the independence chairman or the champion in Africa. We did those good things. But after that, Liberia just went down. And sadly, I don't like to agree with Sapalucia, as you know, most of the time. But our dependency, how can we be alive for 179 years and we still begging? You understand? That's the sad thing that I would like to finally, for the first time on the platform, agree with Sapalucia that Liberia is not dependent. We are independent dependents. Okay. So I will stop right there. Yeah.
And before Sapalucia comes in, honestly, on a serious note, before Sapalucia comes in, I just want to go back and just say, look, after 179 years, Stephen, since you brought it up, that is the topic we're discussing today. Is Liberia truly independent? Or are we a dependent nation? Sapalucia, your opening statement, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you guys for your wonderful sentiments towards your so-called quote-unquote independence of Liberia. But let me do justice to the audience. And this is not coming from me. This is coming from the dictionary. It states a country is not considered politically independent if it relies entirely on other nations for everything. Okay. True independence requires sovereignty. Liberia don't have sovereignty. I will keep putting that out there. The ability to govern internal affairs and formulate foreign policy without external control. Liberia doesn't have that. Every time we hear the president saying our partners, instead of they say our masters, they keep saying partners. And I have defined partnership on this show before. Partnership means you and I have an agreement, and everything we do is of equal value, or at least somewhat 65-40. But Liberia, when America says this, they don't move unless America approves. So that's not a partnership. But it will keep referring to them. Our foreign partners have to agree for them to even your own security to today. If America don't say, hey, the drug issue here, if I saw America say, I want somebody to be prosecuted for the $19 million drug, we'll see somebody, those in high places get prosecuted. But anyway, I'm not going to go to that far. Anyway, let's go ahead. Formulate foreign policy without external control, maintain recognized border, and sustain functional self-rule, which we know Liberia doesn't have. Today, Guinea, so they're still at our border. So is that an independent nation? So I would not call Liberia an independent nation. And what they call declare. What you declare? Who are you? Like you rightly said, Mr. Sharif, who did they declare independence from? No, these guys just heard a term called independence. And they say, hey, let's borrow that. Just like they borrow everything. Your national anthem is borrowed. Your constitution is borrowed. Your flag is borrowed. So what kind of independence you got? We are not independent because today, even our national budget, there's an allocation in there that states grant or loan. That is not independent. That let me running my house and telling Sherry, hey, my man Sherry, you know, at the end of the month, I need to pay my rent. Can you send me 50%? Hey, Steve, you know, my children need school fee, my children need food. Can you send 25%? So everything that I do is dependent on other people. Then I say I'm independent. In my opinion, and from the facts that are laid out based on our government behavior, our national behavior, our national budget, territorial or integrity, security-wise, and everything, I don't think Liberia is independent. Liberia is just another country that is a dependent nation.
Okay, thank you for making your argument. And look, if this was a debate, I think it would be a beautiful debate. But I think we're just going to have a discussion here. So, Policia, thank you for the definition of what you call independent. But I want to go back to the history of the world. Okay, let's look at the history of the world. Let's look at what we call independent versus dependent. If you look at all of the nations, let's just stick to Africa. You look at the continent of Africa. Every nation, yes, there are some countries that are thriving. There are some countries that are under thriving, and there are some countries that are barely moving. You know, and so when you look at each of these countries in Africa, unfortunately, we all give something back to the Western countries. We all receive handouts. We all beg for something. The countries that decide that they're going to stand up and not beg for something or not receive something, those countries we see they have struggled. I'm waiting for you to give me one that have not. And let's look at the so-called independent nations that you value. You can go back to Guinea-Bissau. You can go back to Burkina Faso. You can go back to Guinea, the Guinea that you mentioned in your opening statement. You can go back to most of Ivory Coast. You name all the Francophone countries. These are independent nations, quote unquote independent from the colonial master, from France. However, those countries, their money, their currency, national currency, it is still being controlled by the colonial master. If the French government decide today that Ivory Coast, you got no franc, CFA franc, then where you getting money from? It is still minted in France. It is still controlled, and that is the power they have over you. Liberia, on the other hand, we make our own decisions. So we're going to print our money. Whether we go to Switzerland, we go to Norway to print, we're printing our own money. Now, whether it comes back to the country, we bring it back to the country, that's a different story. We're not talking about that one. We're not talking about that one. But we're printing our own money. We got control of our national bank issues. Control. No foreign power controlling us. So I wanted to ask you, let's just stick to that point and let's see. Are those countries still independent? Yet they have money. They are national. The most. People say if you want to hurt somebody, take them where they are in a pocketbook. So if a country is still controlling your finances, are you truly independent? Because if you consider those countries to be independent and Liberia is not independent, I want you to address that issue before I go to Dr. Positive.
Yeah, so in fact, the reason I focus on Liberia because it's where I'm from. However, if you look at entire Africa, and I'm one of those people who have always said,
and just be careful because Stevie is fact checking you as we go.
Oh, he can go ahead. He
That's
can go ahead. Yeah, he can go ahead and fact check whatever you want to fact check because I follow the African or how to call it, the African politics as well. Now, but if we look at Africa, and that's what I've said, look at the agency, and that's why I keep saying most African nations, if I were president of Liberia, that's what I would do. I would withdraw from the OAU because the AU, because the AU is sponsored by Europe. So it is not independent. ECOWAS is not sponsored by ECOWAS nations. It's sponsored by foreign entities outside of the continent. That is not independent. Therefore, most countries in Africa are not independent. And because they are not independent, they cannot make their own decision. Because the OAU are representation of people, head of state from the various African nations. And if that entity that is governing the continent is not independent, doesn't have an independence, then what makes it the individual nations are independent? They are not. So the entire continent is almost in the pocket of somebody else. That is why I think we should go around and change that thing. First, we should have our own African national defense out and sponsor every activity that we do from Africa. So the entire continent is still under colonial rule or some sort of control by the West or other nations.
Okay, then we can make that argument because I think to single Liberia out to say Liberia is still a dependent nation, it is not truly independent when we have had this for 179 years. It's not fair to us, and so that's my argument.
No, it is fair. It is fair. It is fair in that. It is fair in that Liberia is 179 years old. Sure. Nobody in our country is older than Liberia. Nigeria, the current president of Nigeria is older than the country. It's older than Nigeria. So yes, it is a fair argument or sentiment to have because you who gave birth to this other country, they should be looking up to you as the guy. And you have not said that. You have not set a good example for them. So they follow whatever you're doing.
I think that's why I open up my statement by saying, look, there are some countries in Africa that are thriving, and there are some countries that are super thriving, and there are some countries that are not moving at all. We can put that continent in the countries of not moving at all. Because at 179, you and myself, we grew up in a home where our parents will look at you and say, Stephen, why can you not just be like your little brother? You know, we grew up like that where maybe our parents were not mean like that. But why can you not be like your brother? Why can you not be? So people should be looking up to us. They should be looking up to us. But the fact that they are not looking up to us and we're not looking up to them, that is a problem. That means the older brother have failed in that context. However, it does not take away the fact that he is still the older brother. No, it does not take away the fact. So, Stephen, I don't know if you want to address anything about the monetary issue, my argument about Liberia is independent because she controls her own destiny when it comes to the finances. Again, I was clear. I don't care if the 16 billion come to the country or not.
But even at that, Mr. Sharif, even at that, that's
no, you were done. You didn't address the money issue.
No. The money issue. You asked for you compare to other countries, right? That's why I address it that way. But even you look at the money, your money currently, you go in Liberia, you cannot transact business in your own. The money you say you print. Yeah. The money you print in foreign country, even when our country say, "Hey, I'm not printing your money," you got no means of printing money. So that other argument that you want side. Now, the money you print,
I still have control over it.
The one I say this is the legal tenants, legal tenant of Liberia. You feel your government, the Republic of Liberia government, refused to prioritize that money to give relevance to that money. So still, even though you have something that is useless, it's still not. It doesn't give relevance to anything. So you put up the point that Liberia is independent because you have your own currency. You have your own currency.
It's still a legal tender.
I mean, I'll be the big brother. Yeah, Sabolo say, let your friend and talk small.
Yeah. I want to go to Stephen. Stephen, go ahead. Yeah, let Sabolo start all the things today. Stephen, go ahead.
Yeah. So, guys, great discussion. You know, I would say this quickly, right? We are not good at parable, but I'll try. Imagine Liberia is like a rich man's daughter that find this poor boy and say, I like you. Or the poor boy say, I like you, and the daughter say, and the father say, when you marry that boy, I'm not gonna do anything for you. You understand? That's eventually how Liberia's story ended up with America. You understand? We, even though America say go and form your own country, you leave our country, go and form your own country. They came, they decided to take our resources, step in, decide to control our government silently, but they don't give us any money. Anybody we won't get help from, they're there to sabotage it. And anybody that make the decision to take us to another level, they knock them out. You understand? So that's kind of like where we are as a country, whether we are independent or not. Like Sharif, the fact that we don't print our own money. The country where we print our money can say tomorrow we're not giving you money or our machine spoil. If that country say that machine spoil, what can Liberia do? Who will we go to sue that country that says they're not printing us money? Even the United States dollars that we use more than our own Liberian currency. If the United States said, hey, Liberia, we are no longer giving you our currency, our economy will drop. You understand? So Sapolosia is somehow right to say that Liberia is not independent because we don't rely, we are not self-sufficient. You understand? We are not self-sufficient. Sharif, like Sapolosia, again, today, that good day for Sapolosia, kind of agreeing with him small. Imagine me, imagine me, right? In my house today, I come to you, I say, Sharif, my man, tomorrow I want to eat pan butter, I want to eat tabagi, but I need you to send me the money for me to do my tabagi, for me to cook the, I need dry meat in it, I need monkey meat in it, I need fish in it. Then you tell me, Steven, you know what? I know I like you, but that tabagi you want to eat, I can't give you that money. You understand? Then how do I feed my family? How do I take care of my family? So the place Liberia at this age need to stand is, how can we feed ourselves? How can we decide what go in that tabagi that we want to eat? And that's the place I'm again saying that I'm right. Sapolosia is right when he said Liberia is completely dependent.
Okay.
Sharif, we cannot do anything. How can we have a country? And if you look in our history, when we had leaders that was trying to encourage us to use our own currency, eventually they became enemy number one of the United States. You understand? Mm-hmm. For example, you know, everybody can say Samuel Doe's stuff was based on Charles Taylor stealing money from Liberia. No, it wasn't that, because at some point Samuel Doe started saying, hey, Green Revolution, we got to make our own food. We have to have our own currency. You understand? Once we started doing that, we started being disrespectful to our pa.
Steven, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, right? You know, we're not going to go into the dual conversation, but I would say this to you, brother. One of the things that you cannot use social economics thing. I agree with what River says pro is doing. We cannot use socioeconomic status to say that would determine whether you're independent or not. If that was the case, my brother, then we got serious problem. But let me go back to the argument that you just made with regards to you know, Liberia still depending on people to say. Look, I agree, but we hear the song, no one is an island, and we say all the time in the country, no one is an island. What has happened? It is only fair that we call it the name that it should be called. This is why they killed Patrice Lumumba, you know, in Democratic Republic of Congo. This is why they killed Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso. This is why they kill Muammar Gaddafi. This is why they kill Kwame Nkrumah. This is why they kill any strong man that comes up in Africa that said, look, we want to determine our own thing and do the things that we want to do. They get rid of you because they still want you to be under that thumb. Why? Because they can still come and extract from you what they want to extract. While you and myself were putting mattresses on our head, running from Buchanan to the village or from Monrovia to this, Firestone was still operating. They were shut down the wall. People come and pick up diamond, pick up gold. They were still doing that thing. I say this to say, that does not determine whether the country is dependent or independent. What determines, do we have autonomy? Do I have to go back to other people? There are a few countries we still go on a currency thing. There are a few countries in Africa that print their own money. Nigeria, let's start with Nigeria. They print their own currency. If we want to determine and say printing your own currency makes you to be independent, then we got problem. Because the Nigeria that you're talking about, for them to even get rid of Boko Haram, they have to come and link some kind of contract with the US. US had to send people to bomb all the places before they can move forward. And I hope people fact checking what we're saying. Nigeria depends on the United States heavily, but when we bring it up, you say, oh, because Nigeria got oil, US wanted oil. Yes, that could be. But they're still extracting from you, though. And then when you go to another country that print their own currency, you can look at a country like Kenya, South Africa. Look at the mess that's going on in South Africa. That mess that's taking, we're calling it xenophobia. It's messy. Is that a independent way of governing your nation and your people? So I mean, we can't look at that and say because we don't print our own money, so that make us
No,
dependent.
No,
Sharif, to correct you,
Steve,
not
Steve, let me
just
come in. Steve,
not
let me
just the
come in.
printing though, not just the printing.
Yeah.
Let's look, not just
Yeah.
the printing of
So
money.
then look at the other thing you just mentioned, Steve. I mean, Sharif, and that is why I talk about the entire African continent, right? Let's look at Nigeria, for example. Nigeria lack of independence is not because of what they don't have. It's even the Boko Haram you're talking about. That stuff was just a show because everyone who has some little security background will tell you that Nigeria itself, Nigeria military has the capacity to get rid of the Boko Haram. They do. However, because there are elements, and I follow Nigerian news as well, because there are elements within the Nigerian government that support the very Boko Haram you're talking about, that is why Boko Haram continue to flourish in Nigeria. But it is not because Nigeria don't have the capacity to go and bomb. You and I were in Liberia in the 90s, Autopos. It was Nigeria planes that were bombing the various places in the various counties. So Nigeria do have the capacity. When they had a coup, Benin or Togo, when they had that coup in Benin, the Nigerians sent a military and they flew over the country. That when the coup guys, the guy who took over, left the country. So not that Nigeria doesn't have, but it's because people within the Nigerian government and some other elements have influence over Boko Haram and they are benefiting financially. But Nigeria is in a position to be independent freely. But because of the corrupt system that we have built over the years, that is why Nigeria is not independent. Yes, printing your money and managing your resources makes you independent because Nigeria is able to feed herself. If Nigeria were using the oil, look at Dubai. Let's look at Dubai as an example. Only oil they have, and they are independent. Why? Because they control that oil. But the African continent have never learned to release themselves of the mental slavery that was given them, especially with one with religion, the two religions that they have, the two dominant religions we have. We shouldn't forget that. Whether it's Islam or Christianity, those two things have influence in Africa.
Can we put that comment up? Let's look at that comment. Sorry, Sabulisha. Yeah, go ahead.
So those things have influence in our country. So until we look at what happened in Korea today, North Korea, let's look at North Korea for example. We have uranium. We have all these things that build nuclear weapons. But we sit and allow the outsider to tell us how to use our resources. So until we can take control of our own resources, we'll be dominant. But unity is what we're not fighting for. Like I posted something the other day where I show the Muslim and the Christian and a picture of that nature depicting that, oh, they're fighting over Bible, they're fighting over Quran. And that's what they use. China did not accept that. Japan did not accept that. Korea did not accept all of those things. Today, they are independent. We accepted it. Today, there is not one African country can stand up and say, I will be the Dubai, I will be the North Korea, even though the resources that they're using to build those nuclear weapons and stuff, we have it right in Africa, in the various countries. So until we, Africa, the United Nations can stand up, like what the dream that Kwame Nkrumah had, and say, let us build our economy, let us use these resources that we have to build a stronger Africa until we can go back to that drawing board, Africa will never be released. We will continue to be enslaved.
Okay, so let's go to the comment here. Stevie, I'm going to bring you on this comment here from our good friend Moriba Wida. So, I mean, I think Moriba and myself on the same point here. You know, he's asking some rhetorical questions, and he knows you know the answer. That's why he's asking it. You know, it's Liberia territory. Does Liberia have a permanent population? Does Liberia has its own system, form of government?
No.
Okay, you said no to that. But is Liberia in partnership with other nations?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have four, I mean, three out of the four questions that he asked, and
Mm-hmm.
you say yes, yes, then you by default you agree with him that
Mm-hmm.
yes, Liberia is an independent nation. And I agree with him. I agree with the argument he's making here. There are other countries, and let's forget Africa. Since we say Africa have never learned to be independent because they're still receiving handouts or assistance. Let's go to Europe. When our current president, President Trump, came in office, and Trump said, "Look, Europe, if you don't lift your own weight, you don't take care of your own national security, you don't increase your national security percentage, we are not going to sponsor you." What happened? They jumped right on the bandwagon. Some nations went to 5%, NATO countries went to 5%. They went from 2 to 3 and 5. They stand up and they're doing exactly what they should do because they are still primarily dependent on the United States. Does that make any country part of NATO to be dependent? And we can consider them not independent nations? No.
No,
So
no, Mr. Sharif.
I mean,
There
my
are two
argument is
different. There are two
every
different things.
let's have a
They
look
are
at
interdependent. They got
Let me finish. God, I mean a question coming too.
so because my point here is, I'm like Moriba. Every nation depend on each other, give and take. I may not have uranium, but you have uranium. We can work together. I may not have a chocolate factory in my country, but you do have the country. I will sell you the raw material and say it happen all the time. So, Stephen, based on that information here from Moriba, does Liberia fit the mold of an independent nation just by his criteria?
I will honestly, I like my brother Mariba. I will honestly say no, right? The reason being, right? If you look at Adam Smith's statement, he said, let's trade for what we what we know, and then let's trade for the value we have, and then import what we don't have, right? So anything that all the things you have that belongs to you, basically you export them, right? And then the things that you don't have, you import them. So Adam Smith was saying that's where partnership occurs, right? But look at Liberia, for example. Everything we own, every resources we own, we don't control them. We don't determine the price.
No, I disagree with you. I disagree with you. But make the point.
Let me finish. Let me finish, Sherry. We don't control the prices of any of our raw materials in Liberia. You tell me where in Liberia can I go and determine the price for my for gold, diamond, or anything in Liberia? Tell me today, Sherry. I will give you small thing. All right. But that's part that, right? Liberia don't control that process of determining the value of its own resources, right? That's the first thing. Or independent country, if I own the value of what I have, then that means I'm dependent to make that decision, right? I'm independent to make that decision, but we don't control that. Next, we're talking about currency. We started with the currency. How can I be a sovereign country? I have dual currency. I'm using dual currency in my country. I don't control the rate. There's no single rate in Liberia. Sapolosia, when you are doing Wuhan ball, he will have your own rate. When you are doing the same thing, you will have your own rate. I was doing the same thing, I will have my own rate. You understand? And our rate, the rate of our currency is not determined by the central bank. There's not one rate. And then our foreign exchange, we depend so much on everybody else for everything we trade or import. So it's a sad place to be after 179 years, Sharif. We all have to sit here and say, where have we made a mistake? Where have we made a mistake? And if you guys would just permit me 1 minute as I answer.
No, 1 minute too long.
No. Tell them what
Because I'm not talking this topic.
No, I want to go to
no, you permit me, right? If you look at this slide, right here, I want you to focus on this middle here, 1920 to 1950. You can find that Liberia was on the trajectory of going up. You understand? But in this 1950 and 1960 and something, somebody got angry there and said, no, we're letting these guys go too far. Like I said, you have a father that said you're not going to succeed since you decided to move on my arm. So as soon as they saw that Liberia going somewhere, somebody had to step up and say, we have to stop all that. So what do? they kill the smart people, they eradicate all, they eliminate all the smart people in your country and put, I would say, fools in leadership that will take your country way back.
That's
and today, that's where we are. You understand? And we can't sit here and say we are an independent country when we still go to the same people that put us in our mess to make all the decisions for us to decide where we go next. You understand? Okay. So in order for us to move forward in the future, we have to say, all right, I'm a country, I can decide to partner with Russia, and that shouldn't be bad. I'm a country, I should decide to partner with China, and I shouldn't be stepping on anybody's toes for doing that. But as a country, we cannot make that decision. How can we be independent and say, oh, all right, Sharif, I can only be a friend with Sapolosia, but I can't be friend with Sharif, because if I become friend with Sharif, Emmanuel George will get vexed because I'm not friend with Sharif. So you as an independent person, a country, you have to be able to decide who you partner with, who you become, who you do business with. And to answer all Mariwa's question, if we as an independent country, we cannot decide who to partner with, then we are not independent. I'm sorry to say.
Okay, Sapolosia, you got 2 minutes. Go ahead.
So first, let me address few things, right? The definition you give, Sharif, when it comes to people exchanging goods, that's interdependency. And every nation is like Europe. You talk about when it comes to NATO. NATO are interdependent. That's what we're doing there, right? Dependency is what we're doing in Liberia and most of Africa, where if somebody said today, I'm withdrawing my currency, you're useless. Okay? Now, he talking about permanent population. I don't know what he mean by that. Because if you're to define what permanence mean, it will have different interpretation.
Come on, Sapolosia, I'm not going to interrupt you, but I got to do this. You know what the man means? The man is we take our own national census and we can say we got 2.5 million people in the country. That's what it means.
You don't take your then let correct that as well, because Liberia don't really do our own or national census. They depend on another country to do that national census. So let make that correct too.
Well, at least at the end of the day, we have a number that we
have a number that somebody gave you. You have a number that somebody gave you. Because even when I go to Liberia right now, if you are to do right now, if you are to take any research on Liberia, let's say for example for malaria, you will not find Ministry of Health giving you information. You find it either on
basically that is not the point with debating.
But those are the dependency. You depend on other people to generate your data. You depend on everything for. So what make you independent if you depend on people for everything?
Again, that's what we talk about, the interdependence, right? That's what we talk about it, because
that's different. That's not interdependent, Sharif. No, you making me to come to your house to do your work and give you information. That's not interdependent. That's dependency. I rely on you to do that for me.
I will give you 1 minute back. I will give you 1 minute, but let me say this. In Stephen's argument on the same subject matter that you're arguing, Stephen points 2 things out that to me it just debunked the whole idea. The very first thing he talked about price control. He talked about, I wrote it down. He said, we don't control our own financial rate in the country. That's an economic issue. That's
economic. I understand that.
It's an economic issue. It does not determine if my nation is dependent or independent. What is corruption and all of that thing? Forget it.
You mean the U.S. currency, the currency rate, our own currency rate? Like I can go to Sapolosia and get $1 today, $1.60. Sapolosia, I can decide the rate is $1.60. I agree from that.
I agree.
Yeah. So again, all those things, Sherry, all those things add up to say how unserious we are. Like we usually say.
I don't understand that. That is not.
But again, if you don't control
reason.
Yeah. If you don't control how many,
I was just trying to agree with what you said.
Go ahead. No, but I won't say that here like you judge acclamating for nothing. Go ahead.
No. I'm not I will do it justice. I was just mentioning the rate control. Yes, we don't. That does not determine whether
you guys are talking. I listen to you guys. Then when time for me to talk, then you start.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Let me come back to you. And then he talked about rate control. That's economic issue. I don't get time for that. Then we also talk about Liberia does not control its own natural resources. And because Liberia does not control its own natural resources, then it means Liberia is not independent. I wrote it down. And so here's the thing. The question I was going to ask is this. Right now, there's this beautiful organization called OPEC. the gas producing
So,
countries.
Sheriff, so am I going to be allowed to address
Man,
this?
you can't, man. Just wait. You can't.
No, but you guys can't do that to me. You guys address the main question. You guys address the main question. Come for me, then you guys come to debate. Let me address the main question. Then you guys can come and come
no,
back.
I know you will have more to add.
Man, y'all man just feeling with the point he's making, man.
No, but I'm making my point. You guys interrupt.
Man, let the point do it.
No, I was making my point. I gave Sherry Chen, he addressed it. You address it.
Man, just finish quick. 1 minute. Get it, man. 1 minute.
I promise. 30 seconds.
1 minute.
So the last thing you talked about was Liberia does not control its own natural resources. So as a result, Liberia is not independent. And I was just making an example. There's this big organization called OPEC that produces gas, crude oil around the world. And that particular organization is so powerful that today Liberia is suffering to buy 1 gallon of gas for $6 or $7 because that organization set prices on those natural resources called gas. Does that make Argentina or Liberia or this other country that depend on that particular product, does that make them independent? Dependent? No, they are independent. So all of these things we're talking, this economic issue does not make a country dependent. Sabulisa, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but just to pick it back on that OPEC you talk about, the very OPEC you talk about are countries who controls those resources that are part of it. So those countries determine whatever
voting rights.
So with that, we'll say we who don't produce oil, we dependent on those people for that matter. That doesn't have to be political independence. It had to be economic dependence. So that's a difference. But what we're talking about here is political independence. Now, let's look at some of the question he asked. He said, does Liberia have a government? Now, and this is, everybody here will agree with me. If I'm a man who had a child by a woman, and I did not do anything in that child's life, that child, when they grow up, they don't even consider me as a father. Yeah, I may be a donor, but most people will not define you as a father because you did not have anything to do with that child's growth. So having a government that is not functional, it is not considered a government. And that's what Liberia government have been all along. So yes, they have some kind of government, but it's not a functioning government. Now, since we're talking about dependency and independence, let me tell us, there are some countries in this world or some territory that exists that have their own flag, they may have their own money, and they have their own whatever, but yet they are still considered a territory of another country. Costa Rica, is that Costa Rica or Puerto Rico? Puerto Rico. I think it's Puerto Rico. I think Puerto Rico is one of those. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Puerto Rico is one of those. They have their government, they have their president, whatever, but they are still a territory of America. They got, I think Sri Lanka, one of the French territories, those different territories, they have those. I would have think Liberia is one of those people because everything that we do, almost everything, first of all, every president except in the last 40 years, the only president that was elected and did not come to America was Charles Taylor. Every other president, including Doe, even who America were, whatever they were doing to him, when he was elected, he came to America. Why? He did not go to the Liberian people who elected him to tell them, look, I've been elected, this is what I'm going to do for the country. He had to come to America to get America's stamp before he went back to Liberia. Ellen Johnson, when she was elected, her first trip, before she was even inaugurated, was here. Then when she was inaugurated, she came here to get a stamp to go back to Liberia and implement America project. Joseph Boakai, when he was elected, the same. George Weah, the same thing. Joseph Boakai, the same thing. So if you tell me you have a government, an independent government, there should be no reason that when I'm elected as president, instead of sitting with my people, I should come to visit America first before I go back to Liberia to start implementing things. When some of us are talking about independence, we're not just looking at those little factors that other people are looking at or resources. Yes, they are important, but looking at the structure of government, I would not consider that as independent, Sherry. If I have my home and I got to come to Sherry or my father to tell you, say, oh, hey, today my wife and myself will so go do something. Or, do you agree for us to go out to take my children to the park? Do you agree for me to buy food? Then you're not independent. You are not a home lead. You're not the head of the home. Somebody is your head, and you just be the one used as a puppet. So what we have is an independent puppet in Liberia, we call it government, but it is not an independent nation. It's an independent territory that is being controlled, or independent puppet that is being controlled by other stakeholders. But Liberia is not independent.
So, Sabulisa, I want to go to another point. Thank you so much for making that point, but I got to say to you and Steve that all of the arguments that I put, look, we can go back and can debate those things, right? There are powerful nations around the world. You know, the smallest country in the whole world, the smallest country in the world, the Vatican. The Vatican is the smallest country in the world. You know, and there are powerful nations in this world. When their leaders take office, they go to meet the president of the Vatican. They go see the Pope. Some of them will kiss his hand. Some of them will bow down to him. Some of them, they go there. Why do they go there? Does that make those countries? Does that make those countries dependent because they go to see another head of state? No. You go because you are trying to establish bilateral, cooperation between countries, and you're trying to work together. People go, and head of states visit other countries all the time. I mean, Ellen Johnson said if they not come to the United States to get a blessing of Obama to say, hey, Mr. Obama, I'm the president now, so what can we do? No, that is not what he went for. I mean, she came for. You know, Joseph Walker did not come to the U.S. to get a blessing of President Trump to say, oh, Papi, I'm in office now, what can I do? That's not what Walker came for. We all know that, I mean, some of the information leaked to us. We all know what the old man here wanted to do, what the president here wanted to do. We know that he wanted to use our country as a third nation where people can send citizens, deportees to our country to make our country a crime-infested country, like he did to Sudan. We know there were other things that they wanted from us, and we say, so he didn't come to get blessing. That doesn't, I'm just saying my point here, visiting other head of state does not make you dependent that you're here to beg them for bread. No, I disagree with that, and I will continue to disagree with that. I think Liberia is a sovereign nation, has its own boundary. Now, whatever happens internally in that particular boundary, that is a leadership failure. You can address that. You just address that. But we're not sitting there and begging and say, look, Europe, can you please come to our rescue? Can you please come and do this for us? No, we handle our own situation.
Sherry, where you get your news from?
Which news?
All the news and the thing you're talking about, it should be based on something like you said, like, we don't go to Europe to beg for help. We don't come to US to beg for help.
But I already defined it. You don't have to say, Steve, you don't have to go anywhere. Go to the finance ministry website. Look in the budget allocation. You'll see that Liberia depend on donors from Europe.
Donors, yeah. And then
I'm not going to waste my time to talk to discuss.
But that was the point I was making. That was the point I was making.
So what make us
nations collaborate all the time?
We understand collaboration between the US and Europe is different from collaboration between the US and Liberia.
Okay. How so?
Sharif, they dictate to us. It's not partnership. It's a dictation. It's like I'm saying, it's almost like a father and a child situation where the father says, listen, you either go my way or you don't have anything. And that's how
give me one of those examples. Give me one of those examples.
You understand? Okay, for example, right? The typical example, our leaderships that we have in Liberia. For example, at some point, if you agree, when George Weah first ran for office, they said Big Brother didn't want George Weah at that time, so they put Ellen in place. You understand?
Hearsay, gossip. That is
hearsay, but we can all agree to hearsay and stuff. Now, okay, then let's go back to Samuel Doe and Turbo, or even Charles Taylor coming to Liberia. Okay. Charles Taylor ran away from prison in Massachusetts. They said,
quote unquote, ran away from prison.
Okay. And Charles Taylor ran away. Magic, the juju we had, the medicine we had in Liberia, it worked. Charles Taylor disappeared from the prison. He bounced in Liberia and he started the war because nobody had him in it. Uncle Sam never had him in it. And you all, as we all sit here, we know that if someday, Charles Taylor will say how that whole thing happened. And we can all figure it out now how it happened. It wasn't magic. Somebody wanted Doe out at that time. That's why that whole civil war started. And today we all lost family members. We lost friends. We lost a whole lot of relatives. You understand?
Can I say something to this? I don't want to lose your point. Can I just say this, that way I don't lose my train of thought? That you saying that somebody want a leadership out, it does not make that country that they want the leadership out of dependent, because we see it happening around the world today. In Iran, you want regime change. You want this person out. In Venezuela, you want regime change. So you want this person out. powerful nations will always be powerful and want people out because they release. The one thing that Doe did that made this Uncle Sam mad, Doe when he became man and he stood up, he said, "I'm a man, not for myself." Doe said, "Liberian people, I want everybody to bring $1. Bring $1. Let's collect it and let's pay those people that money so they can leave us alone." That the bad thing that Doe did, that your Uncle Sam did not like. Don't beg all of us to put our money together so we can pay Uncle Sam and be done with them. And let's take Firestone back. Let's get our places back. Y'all say I didn't like that. That's the one thing that he did. So is that dependent man speaking?
Again, you just answer our question, right? But Sherry, let me just go to one simple thing, right? How many people are unemployed in Liberia today?
I don't know. We don't keep data.
The labor ministry hold on, Sapolosi, I mean, finish my thought. The labor ministry cannot give us that. Right? The labor ministry will tell you we got to go to the United Nations to get that. You understand? And what Sapolosi, I believe, Sapolosi and myself trying to tell you, or tell all Liberians, as an independent country, we have to take up the initiative to work on things that will benefit us. Make those decisions that are necessary to benefit us, and stop coming up to Uncle Sam to say, "Hey, Pape, we want to know how many people employed in our country tomorrow. One plane rest in Kakatan. Can we go ahead and plan price?" And at some point, we have to own those responsibilities of our own. Even if
you guys gotta be ashamed. We are not asking for this.
Sherry, can you wait a minute? I think, listen, I know you did English, but like talking too much, like you gotta give some more chance.
No, I was a debater in
I understand, but give some more small chance. Well, maybe I didn't do English, but yeah. So the people that make the decisions to decide where your government, the things your government focus on, they are in control. You understand? They control your government. They control your country's path. You understand? When will Liberia sit down? Let me just say that one thing. When will Liberia sit down and say, for the next 30 years, this is where we want to go? And
leadership problem.
We sit down and really plan that and start putting money, using our natural resources, and say, all right, if we sell our iron ore, we'll sell our iron ore to this country for $5. And because we know we'll sell 10 bags of iron ore, over 10 years, we can do this thing.
It's
you understand?
Problem. That's why you need to bring that.
Okay, so if we talk about leadership, right? Who makes the leadership? Let's go back to the founding of Liberia. Let's go back.
Oh, they got asking to open the line for people to call in.
Let's look at our education. Our education system is not built to benefit, and I've said it before. Our education system is not built to benefit Liberia. It's intended to benefit somewhere outside. Look at the structure of your education system. Your country had iron ore. You are not training your citizens to mine your iron ore. You are training them to become accountant when you had no accounting firm at the time. You are training them. I'm telling you, I mean, it's real. You had no accounting firm at the time. You training people to become accountant. You training people to become engineer when you had no engineering company. So your education system, even up to today, our education system, we got 16 years that you got to spend in school. When you don't have a job. So that means your education system is not framed to benefit your country. We rely right now. If Liberia was smart, agriculture is the way to go because we got fertile soil, we got good rainy season to support that. So if you want to be an independent nation, the first thing you should do is train people on agriculture. Your first strategy is design your education based on your region. For example, what is popular in Bonkande, Lofa County, and so forth? Train the people in that area so that they can provide those services there. What is in Maigibi? We got Firestone. Let us educate our people in that system based on raw manufacturing, what they can do to manufacture those things.
Leadership.
Whether you want to tell me it is leadership problem or not, it started from the beginning. It's leadership are the one that make you independent.
That does not make you dependent.
No, it doesn't make you dependent because you have to put structure in place as a government. If you're not doing it, you rely on other people for that.
No,
just
but
because you wrote a document, Sherry, just because you wrote a document
to come and do it for us.
I was a debater. Just because
we're not asking foreign nations to do it for us.
You're doing it. You're doing it. You don't have to come and write a letter and say, I'm asking you to do this for me. But we see it happening every day. Everything you do, you are in Firestone. From 1927, you don't have one manufacturing company in your country.
That's
It's
true.
because you depend on other countries. Just because I went and signed a piece of paper and say, oh, today I'm a man, doesn't make me a man when I'm not doing the thing that's supposed to make me a man. So that's what I'm saying. You sign a document and say you're independent, but your activity does not make you independent. That's where someone are coming from.
Yeah,
Rip,
Go ahead, Stephen. You got somebody
Rip, when we got a caller online, so let's hear from the caller. Hello, your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, it's me, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Wisconsin.
Okay, well, Wisconsin, Wisconsin. All right, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, thank you to the guy, man. But man, all the plenty stuff I got over there, all the extra, everything I do, I got shut down. I got about 4 different talking for you. About the first one, yeah. But yeah, but my short little contribution is I want to make a comment and ask a question. But so with the when it comes to the with the American thing, guys, I don't know if we should call it dependency, because there's just something about America that everyone has to be tied with America. I don't think it's necessarily because of financial benefit. You know, black guys who are in school, there are some people you just so cool guys, you just friend with them. You know, you just want to be with them. Yeah, I mean, they have no benefit. Maybe they don't help you with your license, but they were just the cool kids in the class. You know, those guys, certain guys on campus. You know, cheering for SDA for any school. So I think there's something about the United States, even powerful nation like Great Britain. There are some nations that even if America isolated, it just don't feel right. So with the America thing, I think just something. I don't want to call it dependency, but I don't even know why it is. But Liberia is just tied with the United States. As far as the European Union or Europe, I think it's more of a dependency because, I mean, we all know the effort of the European Union, their finances, and how much they have helped in the reconstruction development of Liberia. So that's the difference. Europe is more for financial benefits, economic benefits. America is just something about them that I can't say. But my question to you guys is, when you look at independence, guys, do you think our founding fathers see it as we see it now? Like, I know Stapolese and Sherry, now we're talking about financial dependency. Don't you think that those people were just looking at their first step? You know what? Let's just have our, let's be able to be on our own. Let's just make decisions on our own. Rather than they were looking at, we ain't got money, how can we be? My question almost comes with this background of friends that I work with, they live with their parents. Before, and the guy told me, I said, how do you feel? He said, yes, I live with my parents sometimes. I said, why didn't you want to leave? He said, that fear of leaving. I didn't know if I was going to be able to pay my bills. I never saw a black bill in my life. I never saw energy bill. I only pay phone bill. So the fear was in me. He said, but when I left the house, I knew that at some point, I said, I will make it. He said, I just wanted to leave home. It wasn't what I have money, I saved money. I just wanted to leave my mother's basement. Then from there, I would start life. So don't you think that's how the founding fathers saw independent at that time, just for self-determination rather than trying to get everything before you get independent? That's my question. Thank you very much for having me, guys.
All right, Rasa Pro, just to help us here, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sherry, you want us to chime in first, or you will go ahead?
No, take another call. Take another call. I took note of the question, so take another call.
I don't know if the person is calling for Liberia, right? But let me get and see.
Okay, then let's address it. So River says Pro, the point he made, with regards to the founding fathers issue, the question, it has been a question. Even the most powerful countries are struggling to answer that question. Today in the United States, we have a lot of cases in the Supreme Court, and we have a lot of amendment, a lot of issue, and a lot of different questions coming up about the Constitution. Whether the United States people are asking, is that really what the founding fathers meant? We don't know. We can never go into their head to know what they meant. But what we do have is the letters, the information they left behind. So because they left that information behind, we can hope this is what they meant. And so to address the issue, yes, looking at the literature, looking at the historical context, looking at what was happening in America at that time, I can definitely sit there and be confident and say, those that went to Liberia on that Mayflower, they just wanted to be free. They just wanted to be somewhere. It didn't care how many of them died. It didn't care whether they had to go cook cassava. It didn't, they just wanted to be free to get from under the thumb of slavery. They just wanted to be out. And when they got out, they knew nothing better. Because for centuries, they have, I mean, not centuries, for millennia, they have been here in this country. And all they had was the information that they saw. Everything they had, that's what they did. You know, most of you, Sapalucia, your son, the other day, I look at you and said when he was getting married, I said, man, your son looks exactly like you. Where he learned it from? He learned it from you, your discipline, the knowledge you passed on to him. That's all he had. And now he's out there now to find himself, to make him his own path going forward. So those slaves, those people, they just wanted to go out free. And when they went, how do we set up a government? Oh, of course, we got to go back to what we know about government in America. Of course, we got to look at that constitution. Of course, we got to look at the flag. Of course, we got to look at it. That's exactly everything we have in Liberia is a photocopy of what we have in the United States. And so, to answer River says pro question, their quest was not so much about, I wonder we got enough money to be able to start a country. Their quest was, let's get free, we'll find our way, we'll make it. It was never their intention that the country that we're getting free from will go back to them so they can support us. That's how I look at it.
No, yeah, and I agree with you on that. Exactly what I was going to say, almost in the same line. Now, but there are some points in our in the Liberian history that I thought we have made better. You know, and I will go from the 1980s. The 1980s is where we made one of the mistakes, and maybe it was because of the fear of gun or something. We made two mistakes in Liberian history. From 1847 all the way to 1980, that was a period where we know that people didn't, and I don't want to say it's not an insult to them, but they were ignorant of certain things that we know today, right? So I give them that. But remove this stuff, man.
Why you having echo again?
No, remove. I mean, I'm trying to make some point and just make this.
I'm listening. Just no, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, he's distracting me. So now, 1986, the 1986 Constitution is where those that were in there. And again, that's why I said maybe it was because of the power of the gun. I think they made a mistake. They should have already written the Constitution, because now these guys were educated. Most of them have they have come to the US, and some of them have come to Europe, and they have gained education. They have seen the African history. When it comes to, especially in West Africa, they have seen the West African history. They have heard Kwame Nkrumah's speeches and other stuff, other great guys' speeches. They have seen Nelson Mandela's struggle. They have seen the vision of they got Haile Selassie and all these great guys in Africa, Jonas Mbimbi, all these guys, the great African warriors. And yet, when they wrote the Constitution, they just copied from what they have from way back and just took the Redemption Council stuff and put in the way you talk about forgiving the Redemption Council for XYZ we shouldn't do. That's the only thing they did. That was the first mistake we made. Then come fast forward. The war came. When the war came, we spent 14 years of fighting. Instead of the so-called brain in our country, sit and say, okay, we're fighting war because of all these different things that happened. After the war, what should we do? Nobody was planning for that. Even though most of them, those who are the educated ones, were out of the country. They were not thinking that the war is going to finish. So let us put a plan in place so that when the war is finished, we can start with this. They never did that. They all were fighting for coming back and grab power with no plan. And now, fast forward today, we see ourselves in that we still got the same constitution from 1847. We still got the same education system from 1847, almost, right? We still got everything. But if you pay attention to many countries, what they have done when they come through these things, they make changes. Even the country we're saying today, after the Civil War, they started from fresh. They started something new, and they brought us something different and started addressing issues up to the 1960 and the 1970, right? And started changing, making amendment to the laws to benefit the citizen, women's rights, blacks voting, and all the other stuff. Liberia will just copy and paste and continue the same process. So because of that, we'll continue this run. Now, in order for us to actually say we are independent and become interdependent, we have to go back and look at our constitution and see how we can amend it, holding people accountable to certain standard. Because think about it, Sheriff, you and I know in the constitution, it gave you the requirement of what you can be, how qualified you can be to be a representative or to be a senator. Tell me, looking at the definition over there, do you think that's the right thing for today's to meet this 2026, 21st century criteria for somebody to become a senator? I don't want to compare it to America because America is already set. Okay, before somebody say, well, look at American Constitution. No. Looking at Liberia, I want us to be independent of America. Looking at Liberia, do you think the Constitution, the way it defined the criteria for presidency, senator, and all that stuff, do you think it meets the standard to build a Liberia that will be developed for the next future? That's a question.
That's a question. And Stephen, I'm going to let, if you want to talk, Stephen, go ahead before I answer.
Yeah, so I just wanted to respond to Mariba's question quickly, or his statement in response to something I said.
I will take note. I'm not going to skip that question. I will take note.
Yeah, so in response to what Maria said, and Sapolosia, basically what you said in reference to Liberia, it all makes sense, but I don't want to change the topic on you, but Maria says something here, and I think I should respond to him also in reference to our currency. It's not that I'm saying that because Liberia don't print her own money, Liberia is using the US dollar, that we are not independent, right? Liberia and other countries like El Salvador and all the other countries that uses the US dollars, they may only use the US dollar. I don't believe they have their own, they have different currency. But what we are saying is, even if we are using the US dollars, at what point will we decide that say, hey, this money that we are using should be the de facto currency that we have to use? Or we decide that, hey, in order to develop our country, should we ask ourselves the question, using the US dollars along with the Liberian dollar, is that benefiting us as a country? If the question is no, then we have to decide, maybe use one instead of using both of them at the same time. So those are some of the discussion that we have to have as a country going forward. And all this discussion, I know we're almost out of time, but all this discussion we have in here is to say that our country is too far behind. Based on other countries that we even raised, we help them get independent. We help them to form their country. Today, Liberia is way behind than some of those countries. And as a Liberian, sitting here and talking about this is our dream. This is our hope that we today decide our own future, that another country shouldn't be checking the check mark for us to move forward. So, Sherry, you can go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Sapolosi, let me go back to the question. The question was looking at our 1984 Constitution and the Article 52, I think that's what it was, where it talked about the presidency, the requirement for presidency and all of that. Let's focus on the presidency, for example. Age 35, be at least 35 years old. Have no, at least have $25,000 in your bank account and at least live in the country for 10 years. And you're asking me if that is a requirement that we need today in the 21st century. I will tell you, we need that requirement today more than we ever needed it in the past. And the money thing, we can change it. We can increase the money thing and say, no, take it from 25,000 because it causes too much damage and 25,000 can't do anything for us. So let's go 100,000. We can change it to any amount we want. But the age, Sapolucia, you and myself, I struggle with having presidents who are 60 or 50 or 100 years old and they're not doing anything. I do not want another Robert Mugabe in our country. I do not want another Paul Biya situation in our country. I do not want another situation of the guy from Uganda. I do not want any of those things. I want someone with fresh ideas, someone who is creative enough. I want, give me the guy from Senegal. Give me the young brother from Senegal who is going to stand up and who is going to say, look, we might make some mistakes, but we will get it right and we'll get our foot correct. African leaders, the revolutionary African leaders, they were not in their 60s. They were not in their 50s. These are people who are set in their old ways. They have no progressive idea. They have no way to carry the country forward. When Saudi Arabia wanted to advance, they did not go back to the king, who was already older and all of that. They brought Mohammed bin Salman, someone young, fresh, 29 years old at the time. They bring him and say, bring the idea. What you want to do? Look at Saudi Arabia today. Look at Saudi Arabia today. And there are countries that have younger leaders. We are not saying young people that we always can. But look at Obama. Obama came with fresh ideas. He was a young guy, even though he was not the youngest to lead the country, but he came with some fresh idea. Compare Obama with Joe Biden.
But that's not no, that's the point I was making, right?
No,
because
but
it was not just the money. I talk about the education. Why? Because some guys gave those three branches of government the education. We should even have a limit. To me, just as a man will retire at the age of 65, whatever, we cannot have a dementia person leading the country. No. So I think we should set the same retirement age. If I cannot be a classroom teacher at the age of 72, 73, then you should not be a president at the age of 72, 73, if that is the criteria. But you're not making sound decision.
I agree. I think we agree on some points.
Yeah.
But I think the ideas that we actually have today, the whole idea about today's debate was whether Liberia is dependent or independent. And my position still remains that Liberia is independent. All the other internal issues that hold us back, that pull us back, that draw us in the direction, move in that direction, that is a leadership problem. Until we can have a leader that stands up. And this is why I said one time that, I'm not making a threat. So people in Liberia, please do not misunderstand me. Don't think I am trying to bring military rule.
Don't worry, just say the thing. You can't. I'm a man. Yeah, the man will protect you.
I have to caveat that because Liberian people don't stand hard job. Tomorrow I'll be on front page Africa. But my idea is you need a revolutionary kind of leadership in Liberia, someone who has a strong man kind of background, whether it is a Trumpism kind of idea or whether it's someone like Ibrahim Traore from Burkina Faso, someone who will come and stand up and say, look, this is the direction we're going to our country. Fix that country, get rid of this legislature, get rid of them. They're just wasting our money in our country. A strong leader who come and redirect the country, and then you give it back to the people. That is what we need in our country. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. With all of these eternal things, when they are fixed, you'll see Liberia be on a trajectory. Well, I cannot sit here in good faith and say Liberia is not an independent nation. No, we set our rules. We have our government. We have our people. We may be using the US dollar in the country, which is something I disagree with. But you know what? Liberia is an independent, sovereign nation. And that will be my argument until we end the show.
All right, we gotta go watch the World Cup.
Yeah, because you're going too far. You're going too far.
So
I may agree with you. Sovereign, no, I don't think so. So don't even bring out an argument. But anyway,
let's say our closing thoughts and
we're gonna go watch the World Cup. But no, so let me close here because I'm about to go. So yes, somewhat Liberia is a dependable nation that exists for 179 years of dependability, and we need to change a lot of things. We need to change in my opinion, we need to amend our constitution drastically, right, and reform it in that it would address the issue of Liberians, not just Liberia as it is. In fact, left with me will change the even country name. So let us focus on. I know the founding fathers, yes, they were doing things at that time to focus on what they were doing because of what the condition, which is understandable. They came from a slave mentality, and they thought that they could come and exercise the same power that they have, that they were losing in America on that side. But with that, look, Liberians, I want to wish you guys coming next week, happy Dependent Day, and let us try to fight for actual independence, where every child will think that he's a man and not beggars. Because the big friend with us, what the people are portraying in Liberia is what the nation is portraying outside. Because we're begging everybody, so as soon as you call somebody in Liberia, the next thing is, what you get for me? And now what Liberia as a nation is doing. And that's why some of us keep thinking that Liberia is still a dependent nation. So until we can become an independent nation, and then we can ask for sovereignty, because that's another topic to discuss. With that, I say thank you guys so much, and have a wonderful and blessed week.
All right. I'm going to do my closing statement, and then Stevie can end the show. But, ladies and gentlemen, in Liberia is the one country that each of us, when we go to, we feel at home. That is our place. That is our home. Our place of origin, our place of birth. And that is why I'm super excited that Liberians in the diaspora now have the opportunity to retain their Liberian citizenship. That is a positive thing. Nobody can make that decision for you if you are not an independent nation. And I believe Liberia is an independent nation. There are a lot of different things that they have done that make me to believe that Liberia is an independent nation. Liberia do not come to foreign nations and say, look, we want to follow your education system. What do you say? No, that's not happening. Liberia make that decision based on information they have, and Liberia has always been able to uphold itself. Now, whether it is getting grants, it is getting subsidy for some from some other country, every country in the world get subsidies one way or the other. And that is why when the foreign aid was cut, it was not only Liberians screaming, it was nations in South America, nations in Africa, other parts of Africa, nations in other continents. They were screaming, not just Liberians. And to be an independent nation, we have to be able to uphold our national identity, to be able to secure our borders, to be able to do what presidents, what nations of that caliber does. Liberia is small enough. If we withhold our integrity and bring in leaders who will actually have the guts to stand up and do the right thing, Liberia indeed will rise. Until then, friends, I hope that each of you guys enjoy this Independence Day. It's going to be next week, Sunday. Enjoy the Independence Day. My 26th is on everybody. As we say in Liberia, enjoy your day. And please, this year, I don't want to hear any story. Last year was horrible. Last year, Independence Day celebration, 2 accidents took place, killing 2 small children that I know of and you know of. Parents, don't send your 5-year-old kids to just go to Ente Musu house without you being present. Liberia is not a Liberia that you parents grew up in. Take care of your kids, take them walk a ball, let them wear that suit, and then go and ask for that 26. Stay safe. God bless you all. Enjoy the rest of the World Cup.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sherry. So, folks, this is Dr. Positive. You know, I'm always trying to preach the positivity here for Liberia, but I just want to ask us what happened from 1847 to the 1980 that basically we were on this trajectory to move forward as a country. And eventually after that, we just decided to be dependent forever. As a country, I'm saying that Liberia is dependent. It's not independent because we don't rely on our own self for the things that we need to run our country. In order to be dependent or to be independent, we need to control everything in our country, basically, and then bring partners in to help us develop where we need to develop or to help us fix things that we need to fix. But we cannot make those decisions be made by other people. So as a country, we need to stand up on our own 2 feet. We're too old. We're too old to be begging our Papa America for everything. We're too old to be coming to our Papa America for everything. So on that note, I just want to say happy independence to everybody. And as a country, as a people, we all need to stand up and say, hey, what can we do to help in this process of making our country dependent? To those of you in leadership, think about it. Is Liberia Monrovia? What country that we have that only our capital, this one capital, have been sitting there for hundreds of years? The people that designed the capital in 1847 is the same design that we are going on. And today we cannot even do anything in that country without doing it in Monrovia first. So on this note, I want to say thank you to everybody that watched us today, Monrovia, Mr. River Says Pro, and everybody else who are secretly watching us. We say enjoy the World Cup. Whether you choose Argentina or Spain, we hope your team win. But happy independence to everybody, and we hope that someday Liberia become this independent nation where we make the decision on everything in our that will help our future to be bright. Thank you all. Mr. Sharif, I see you back on. Let's end the show again. Have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you for saying Happy Independence Day. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.